Hello, it's Ruby, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you my personal study essentials. So this isn't for institutional education because this year I'm not at university and I'm obviously not at school, but I am making a goal for myself for this year to be a year of independent learning. And when I say that, I mean that I will be self-guiding my learning, but that doesn't necessarily have to be to the detriment of the actual learning that I do. So this year I'm planning on following the example of historic independent learners and trying their practices, basically just learning skills and topics, areas that have always interested me but I've never given myself the space to properly explore. Institutional education is brilliant in that it's guiding, and having a mentor in education is one of the most valuable things. But I also think that institutional education leads to all of these assumptions that independent learning isn't possible and that we need that institution in order to learn adequately. And obviously one of the huge differences is that if you're learning for yourself, by yourself, then you're not going to receive an external qualification, you're not going to receive a certificate, but that shouldn't matter. The process of learning is so important, and learning for learning's sake is one of the most valuable things and also one of the most human things that we can do. I'm really excited to kind of follow along this journey and see the pitfalls that occur, the challenges, but also hopefully the ways that this will be very valuable. So in today's video, I'm going to talk through my personal study essentials, so the things that I tend to rely on, fall back on when I am studying independently and for myself. So the first essential is a trusted notebook. This is the first one I'm going to be using this year. I will basically just keep neat notes in here, and the plan is that eventually it will end up being like a mini textbook of the key things that I've covered, that I've learnt, that I can then look back on. Important also with notebooks like this to have a space for just jottings of random thoughts and ideas. So the very back of this notebook will be for that, and then the other side will be for neat notes. Also for taking these notes, one of the things that I'm going to be using this year for studying is a mini printer. This is one of the inkless printers. Actually, this one is my sister's and she kindly has been letting me borrow it, but I've just ordered my own one. It's just a really easy way to print pictures. They're all printed on like receipt paper and they're all in black and white, but it's so handy for diagrams and just printing something out that you can then annotate. They're also surprisingly inexpensive, and it's great because you don't have to pay for the ink, which is always the most expensive part of a printer. So the next thing is mini Commonplace books. This one here is my everyday Commonplace, and I keep this in this like Lockean style. So I've got key headings, and then I just add quotes and ideas as I find them. Commonplacing is such an amazing and valuable way of compiling research and fitting things together, fitting ideas and thoughts together that you wouldn't usually pair together, but they all connect under a single theme. Like all of the quotes that I've got on time here, for example, they're all connected to time, but they're not obviously connected to time. But when you read them all next to each other and you read through the quotes that you've compiled, you might see ideas, insights that you otherwise wouldn't have seen. First Commonplace book essential is just like a general basic one, which you can keep with you when you're reading. But then the other one that I love using is mini Commonplace books. So I kept one of these during my degree for each essay that I did, and I plan on keeping one of these every month for whichever topic I decide to research. And it's basically exactly the same as this with the headings, but they're more specific. So the whole notebook might be about comedic plays, and then each of the headings is obviously going to be specific to comedic plays. Again, great way of just thinking more synoptically. So these two will come in very handy this year. Next, a library card. I'm a big fan of using my local library. Best place to take out fiction, obviously much cheaper. Also amazing to support local libraries, because if we don't support them, they don't stay afloat, they don't get the funding. But the other thing which I am using and which I would encourage you to use is seeing if you can get a card and access to an academic library. I just finished at Oxford, and at Oxford alumni get access to libraries, so I've got a library card that will get me into the Oxford libraries. But so many academic libraries will accept applications for reader cards, so go to your local academic library and fill out whichever form that they need, and you might be able to get access to the books in their collection, which is so useful if you're doing independent learning. Next, for books that you actually do buy, because of course, as you can literally see from the bookcase behind me, I do like to buy books, and if I'm studying a book, I do like to annotate it, add post-it notes. So my main annotating supplies that I would always recommend are highlighters, specifically Tombows or mild liners, post-it notes, mini page flags, and then my favourites are these tiny little dot stickers because you can just put them easily next to any passage that you like, and then you can take them at the end, especially good for library books. Next essential is summary websites, and this is a little bit of a touchy one, I know already before I say it, because I can't sit here and recommend Wikipedia, can I? But I can recommend it and can advise that you use it very intentionally for pre-research, so research before your actual research. When you're learning about something which you're completely new to and you don't have a teacher to like guide you there, it can be good to start with something quite basic with an overview, and websites like Wikipedia, like Britannica, Encyclopedia Online can provide that overview. Everything that you read should be taken with a pinch of salt on Wikipedia, but the references at the bottom of the Wikipedia page can be very, very useful, and if you're looking for a starting point, that can actually be quite a good place to start. As I say, always be mindful, and you can't like cite it as being fact. The other one, which I love and would always recommend, the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. If you want to look at any philosophical theory, any philosopher, this is the best place to look for an overview of everything, and it includes all of the key scholarship which has occurred around that topic, citations, references, like it's amazing and I use it a lot. And then the other academic website which I personally used a lot during my degree is the Oxford English Dictionary Online, which will provide the etymology of words, past uses of words when it first came about, multiple definitions. It's so useful, especially for English students and history students. If you are at university, you will have access to this. Unfortunately, because I've now finished, I don't have access to it, so I have paid for a private subscription. That's definitely one of my big essentials when researching, so I feel like I couldn't do research without access to the OED. Like, it's one of my favourite resources to use. Then next, for key websites that I plan on using, Notion, of course. I've got a full Notion tour on my page. It's such an easy way to organize research. I love the toggle system, so you can hide like big passages of note. Perfect way to organize notes on articles, and I love that you can link between things, so it actually works a bit like a website. Notion is the number one thing that I would recommend for organizing notes. The other one which I have recently been liking is Milanote, which is a way to make visual mind maps. I really like this for creating overviews of research projects. Eighth thing, of course, I'm going to say my academic planner. This is the academic planner from last year, from 2023 to 2024, but we now do have the new one. It comes in 4 different colour options, and genuinely I'm so excited to share it with you because every single year we managed to make it a tiny bit better. The planner is designed specifically for academics, so there are lots of study-based spreads, things like library book trackers, exam trackers, space for tracking academic feedback. Like, it's designed for students and it's designed for people in education, but most of these spreads can be adapted for learning independently. I also just love the to-do list pages in this. An example, I've used this every year since we released it 5 years ago. Next, a good study playlist, something on Spotify with classical music, etc. Music that is really good to focus to, because of course you're still going to be needing to focus. This is a bit of a random one, but friends that I can talk to about what I'm researching. Discussion is such an important part of learning and just synthesizing ideas and really like coming to a more solid conclusion. And so if you are learning independently, I would say that trying to have conversations about what you're learning is really important and valuable. It's surprising that he ended up kind of focusing on a domestic drama, a domestic setting. It does feels quite relevant in a way. Next essential for me this year will be my iPad and Apple Pencil. I've made a whole video on how I use this to study, but I envision using it in a very similar way to how I used it last year when I was studying in a university, and I do plan on keeping a digital notebook on my iPad with images, etc. Anyway, they are my study essentials for independent personal studying this year. I'm really excited for this like chapter of my education, and more than anything it feels a bit like an experiment which I'm excited by and which I'm excited to share. So thank you so much for watching, and I will share another back to school adjacent education autumn video soon, but I hope that you have in the meantime more than just a productive week.